Class A second round picks are here. Again, my name is Cade Nissen, bringing you a preview and prediction for each of the 8 games, I believe, going on this week in Class A. We're down to 16 teams. I'll show the graphic right now. Again, 16 team remains. You're each thrown in your pod from here on out. Win your pod, and you're off to Cedar Falls, where you will be reseeded once we get there. But right now, your main focus is on winning this week and getting to the sub-state final. Again, pods A, B, C, and D. It's the same across all classes, same method. So we're on a level playing field here. Again, we got picks from all classes coming out today, so be sure to check out the rest of our picks. Really just trying to provide unique entertainment for you guys. But without further ado, let's get right into how our ranker did last week. 12-4. Not awful, not ideal. Kind of missed on some of the 50-50 ones. But nevertheless, we'll move on to Pod A, where we've got Lake Mills, St. Ansgar, East Buchanan, and Lisbon. Starting off with that top matchup between Lake Mills and St. Ansgar. It's a rematch from a few weeks ago where the Saints won 31-6. In that game, Jace Schweisau only needed to throw 3 passes because Connor King and Christian Michaels, I'm not sure the pronunciation there, they combined for 47 attempts for 293 yards and 4 touchdowns. So really, St. Ansgar just dominated on the ground and really didn't need to go anywhere else with their offensive game. And that just kind of proves to our ranker a little bit too much. He thinks the Saints repeat in a similar score. He's got St. Ansgar moving on to the sub-state final in Pod A. There you go. Moving on to our next matchup, number 11, East Buchanan at 6-2 at number 5, Lisbon, who's 9-0. Lisbon survived by the skin of their teeth in round 1, a come-from-behind 14-6 victory over North Lynn, while East Buck cruised in a 43-point win against South Winneshiek. Lisbon's leading rusher, Baylor Spidel, did not play last week in that game, which would be a huge loss if it is something severe, and he is out this game as well. East Buck does have a better strength of schedule in our rankers' opinions, but he just thinks he's got a hunch that the Lions find another way to win. Undefeated at this point, they have a few statement wins over Columbus and Pekin. They've played some tight games. Obviously, last week was a good test, and ultimately, he's picking Lisbon to move on to a district or a sub-state final, Pod A final, you could call it, between 2 top 5 teams and Lisbon and St. Ansgar, 2 undefeated teams, if that matchup is to occur the way our ranker sees it. Moving on to Pod B, though, where we've got MMCRU, the Royals. They'll head to Woodbury Central, who's 9-0, and number 15, Logan Magnolia, will square off with number 14, Akron Westfield. Starting with that top matchup, MMCRU at Woodbury Central. Drew Klunder is the headline here, the Woodbury Central quarterback. But don't sleep on the Royals' Jonah Peterson. MMCRU's slinger does have 300 less yards than Klunder, and these two guys rank number 1 and number 3 in passing yards in Class A. But Peterson has more touchdowns and less interceptions, and he's got a significantly higher passing percentage. So this will be the best quarterback battle in the entire postseason for Class A. But in the end, I just think our ranker says he just thinks Woodbury Central's role guys are a bit too much to handle. Zach Butler is a beast on the ground, pairing with Eric McGill and Drew Klunder. Our ranker says, give me the Cats in this one to advance to the Pod B final. Moving on, though, to the number 15 versus number 14 matchup, a really evenly matched game here with 2 very contrasting styles in the matchup that looks really even as far as records go. Logan Magnolia insists on beating you with their dirt attack. Not 1, not 2, but 3 Panthers have 750-plus rushing yards this year, led by Evan Rodens, 1,212 and 16 touchdowns. The Westerners, on the other hand, they haven't allowed a single point in the last 3 weeks. Offensively, they're led by do-it-all man Leighton Cock, who boasts 23 of the team's 36 offensive touchdowns. He's the leading passer and rusher, but in the end, our ranker says Loma's rushing attack will be too much to handle in this one. He's got Logan Magnolia moving on to the Pod B final, and that would be a rematch from way back in like week 3 between Woodbury Central and Loma. Woodbury Central won that game pretty handedly, so that would be an interesting matchup in a game where Loma would be looking to get some revenge. Moving on to Pod C, our third of 4, we got West Hancock and Starmont, 2 top 10 ranked teams in our IA football poll, and another ranked matchup, number 12 Maquoketa Valley at number 10 Wapsie Valley. So starting with West Hancock and Starmont, the number 3 team heading to the number 9 team because West Hancock finished as their district runner-up behind St. Ansgar. Starmont obviously won their district in that final week, the final regular season week, with a win over Maquoketa Valley. So that's how that matchup came to fruition. Really an intriguing one here. I do love how Starmont has played this year, says our ranker, with big wins over Maquoketa Valley and East Buck. But in the end, West Hancock is just on a different level. This team is a machine. They run the ball well. They're physical up front, and they're just really, really tough to beat. And our ranker says he's got the Eagles in this one as a road team, picking up a win and heading to the sub-state final. I don't know if it's technically called the sub-state final. That's just how I've always known it. So I'm going to call it that in this video. Moving on, though, to Maquoketa Valley and Wapsie Valley, the battle of the valleys. Maquoketa Valley throttled Columbus last week in the ranked opener in what I thought would be a really good game. And now they've got another ranked team on the road. The headline is pretty simple here, though. The Class A defense that has never allowed more than 10 points per game to a Class A team now faces the best running back in the entire class in Lance McShane. And let me tell you, he's the only guy in the entire state of Iowa with 2,000 rushing yards to this point. Wapsie Valley has had an incredible year, but Maquoketa Valley's strength of schedule is elite, and they're playing with a chip on their shoulder right now after drawing a 3 seed. Our ranker says he's going to ride the hot hand and Maquoketa Valley. That's 2 road teams picked to win in Pod C, and that set up a West Hancock-Maquoketa Valley matchup to head to Cedar Falls. Moving on to our final pod, Pod D, starting with Central Decatur, 6-3 at number 1 Madrid, who's undefeated, and number 7 Linville-Sully at number 8 ACGC. Starting with that first matchup, it's a rematch from week 6 where Madrid won 26-7. Preston Wicker ran for 160 yards in that game, and our ranker says he expects the same this week. He's the 5th leading rusher in Class A, and he's got the most amongst quarterbacks by far. Our ranker is picking the Tigers to advance and move to 10-0. This next one's a really evenly matched one. It's going to be a ton of fun. Probably the best matchup. And our ranker says it right here, in my opinion, this should be the best game on the slate. Sully is now without Quarternown Harder for good, which is a big ailment. Feel bad for him and hope he recovers quickly. But they've done a darn good job to find ways to win without their horse. Lane and Montgomery has stepped up big time offensively, and the defense has been the story, allowing fewer than 9 points per game over the last 5 weeks. Our ranker says to give him the Eagles and a mini upset to take down an undefeated Charger squad. So that would set up a Linville-Sully and Madrid matchup, which occurred about midway through the year when the teams were ranked number 1 and 2. Instead, it'd be Madrid at number 1 and Linville-Sully at number 7. Nevertheless, a ton of fun, a lot of fireworks in that one, and a game where Linville-Sully would be looking to avenge their one loss in the regular season. But that's all we got, folks. We just went through and picked every single game, gave you a good reasoning. Again, be sure to like this video and comment if this is something you enjoy so we know to keep doing it. Be sure to check out the rest of our 7 playoff predictions videos. We're going to keep track and see how we do, like you said, or like I just said, 12-4 for our ranker last week. He's going to look to improve on that. But nevertheless, ton of fun here at the IA Sports Studio. We hope you guys enjoyed, and Class A fans, I'll catch you next time.